Today's video we'll be working on replacing this door jamb. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to remove the brick molding, and basically there's going to be a lot of caulking and adhesive on there, so we're going to have to score it with a blade on both sides so that when we pull it we don't break it and we don't do damage to the stucco. Once you score it a few times, we can slide something in here and just start slowly prying it away from the frame. See here, we're slowly prying it, and just work your way all the way to the bottom so that you don't break the brick molding. Once you pull out the brick molding, you can see here there's screws that actually secure the door jamb to the stud right here on this side. We're basically going to take our Sawzall, we're going to cut all the way down, all the way across, and just remove all of these nails and screws that are securing the old door jamb. So here you can see I just took my Sawzall, just sliced right through, and now you may have to work on the opposite end of this side of the door jamb if there's going to be screws that your blade won't be able to catch, and then just do the same thing on this side as well. See here, I can pretty much move the whole thing with my hand. The only thing that's securing it right now is going to be just a little bit of adhesive up here and this back end that shoves up into this side of the door jamb, as well as the bottom portion, but we should be able to just pull it right out. Here was I took my Sawzall, I cut it right in the middle, and that will allow me just to pull it out without any issues. So you're going to prep this. What we want to do is make sure there's no nails sticking out, and if there are, we want to either cut them or we want to just bang them back into the stud. Take our measurements. Now there's two measurements that you want to take. So here on the new door jamb, you're going to go basically right up to this portion. We're also going to have to cut a notch in for the rest to slide inside. Look at the old door jamb that we pulled out. Both sides are notched. When you purchase your door jamb, only the bottom portion is going to be notched, depending on if it's a right or left swing door. My door jamb right here, the new one. So here, this is where the lip is going to meet the other door jamb, be right here. The upper portion right here is where this portion is going to slide into the side of the brick molding and the door jamb, be right here. What to do is we're going to have to cut the long length, and then we're going to have to notch out this portion right here. Cut the bottom portion, and now I'm just working underneath to notch this out. Just going to dry fit it. You can see I did have to remove the top brick molding just to allow it to slide inside. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to level out this door by putting some shims on the inside. You can see here it's really tight, and as you work your way more down to the bottom, it starts to open and spread out. And even when you look at the door, you can see there's a gap here on the door. What I'm trying to do here is we're just trying to give it a nice even gap all the way across, so that when we do tie in our new door jamb, it's not uneven or warped. So here, if you don't have shims, what I did was I took just pieces of the broken door that was there, and I just used that, just shoved it in, and I just break it off, as you can see here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to dry fit the door. We're just basically going to put the old weather stripping on, and then we're going to close the door. And you just want to make sure that you have a nice even close all the way across. It's important that you have shims in between the door, is because when we're screwing it, it'll have a support in between, so that once we screw it, you'll see here, it won't push it all the way in. This will actually keep it from just pushing in too much. Here I made two marks. One is right at top, on top of the deadbolt, and here we have another at the bottom. The reason I do this is because I don't want to put screws in this section. When I put my top latch and my bottom latch, I'm already going to have screws going through my door jamb into the stud. So I'm just going to make sure that I keep this section clear until I put in the latches. Securing it with your new screws, here we're going to remove the old weather stripping. What you want to do is you want to keep the screws right here where the weather stripping is, but make sure they go all the way in, because when we put the new weather stripping on, you want to make sure that it slides in. You see this has a notch right here, it has to slide in. And if there's anything restricting it or popping up too much, it won't let the new weather stripping slide in. So we want to make sure that we go clean in right next to this notch, so that when we put the new weather stripping, you won't see a bunch of screw holes. I'm just drilling in some holes so when I put my new screws in, they don't cause any unnecessary cracking. Here I put my screw in and it's nice and flush with the door jamb. Here, because I put shims behind the door, it didn't pull it all the way in. Just dry fitting, closing the door, making sure it's nice and even all the way across. I'm using 3.5-inch screws, and you can see this is sufficient enough for it to go through the door jamb and into the stud to give it a nice, secure, firm hold. I went 5 all the way up and down, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I try to do it just so it's nice and spaced out pretty even. Here, once you put your weather stripping on, you won't even be able to see the screws. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm applying pressure with my right hand against the door, pushing it in, and then I'm making my marking. So I know right here, this is the center of the latch. I made a mark here, and now I just basically just push my pen, just the tip of it, enough to get deep inside of there while I'm applying pressure to the door so that when I put my latch in, it's nice and secure. Here, I put on my new weather stripping on the door, and now I'm going to close the door, and I'm going to make sure that the latch secures, and then we're going to mark out for our deadbolt. Move your weather stripping. Making your notch for your deadbolt, you're going to want to go much deeper than you would on this bottom latch because of the depth of the actual latch on the deadbolt. You want to make sure that everything locks. So here, just push your door in, make sure that your latch grabs, and then here you just want to make sure that it locks all the way. Simply going to mark out our latch for the bottom. You always want to start with the bottom because that's the guide for your top deadbolt. Now we're just drilling our holes to secure our latch to the door jamb. And again, the reason we're doing this is just to avoid any cracking. On the same procedure with the top latch, we're going to make our marks, drill it, and then secure it with our screws. Finish putting in your latch. Now we're going to dry fit the door. Just make sure that everything just closes nice and smoothly. We're going to measure to the top of our cut, and then we're going to make our cut on our molding inside of our miter saw box. Secure our molding to our door jamb, and you just want to make sure you go nice and even. See, here's 1, 2, just work your way all the way down. Make sure when you're securing your molding to your door jamb, just make sure that it's nice and flush. We're going to install our brick molding. Just make sure you remove any nails or screws that may be popping out. Top one. You may have a little bit of a tiny gap. We'll just take some caulking at the end and we'll just caulk all the way down. Once you install the crown molding, you'll basically just have to do a little bit of caulking and some paint. If you'll do this job yourself, you'll save anywhere between $300 and $500. You're gonna have to do, obviously, is just, match the paint, whatever the exterior is and whatever the interior is. to match the trim on the rest of the unit. You want to make sure that you remove the weather stripping so that when you do apply your paint, you don't get paint on the weather stripping itself. If this video was a help, if it was informational, please subscribe.